When they asked me to do an impression with my hands, I did it without even thinking twice. I didn't question it. I didn't ask why. I just did the impression and kept it moving like it was nothing. For years, that clip sat untouched, ignored, forgotten. Nobody cared. Nobody analyzed it. But now, suddenly, everything has changed. And what once looked harmless might actually explain a lot more than we realized. This clip stayed buried for years until 50 Cent decided to speak on it. Once he weighed in, fans started rewatching the footage with fresh eyes. People began noticing details that didn't quite add up, gestures that felt strange, movements that seemed intentional. What looked like a simple moment on stage suddenly felt loaded. And that's why this footage is resurfacing now, at this exact moment. The resurfaced clip that completely broke the internet comes from a mid-2000s concert performance. It's a moment that lived quietly in the archives of hip-hop history for nearly 2 decades. Then out of nowhere, it exploded across social media in late 2024 and early 2025. The footage shows 50 Cent jumping on stage, running circles around Jay-Z and other artists while firing the crowd up. The energy is wild. The moment feels chaotic, yet controlled. You can see T.I. acting as a hype man, feeding off the crowd's energy and pushing it even higher. Kanye West is also on stage performing, adding another massive layer of star power to an already stacked lineup. The room feels electric. There's tension in the air that's hard to explain. It's not just excitement. It's something heavier, something deeper. And that's what people are starting to notice now. Here's where things get genuinely fascinating. As the clip spread across X, TikTok, YouTube, and every major platform, viewers started spotting details that had gone completely unnoticed for years. Comment sections turned into full-blown investigation hubs. People replayed the footage frame by frame, pointing out gestures, movements, and moments that seemed far more symbolic than random concert behavior. This wasn't just performance energy anymore. One user perfectly summed up the collective confusion in a post that went completely viral. They wrote, 50 is absolutely insane. How the hell did he get this footage? That one sentence captured what thousands of people were thinking. The replies and retweets flooded in as fans tried to understand how something like this stayed hidden for so long. And even more importantly, why it's coming back now, during this specific moment in hip-hop culture. The most shared version of the clip runs about 2 minutes and 17 seconds. In that short window, something happens that's hard to define. Viral subtitles point out that 50 appears to disrespect the rock symbol while running circles on stage. That single detail sent conspiracy theorists and hip-hop historians into overdrive. To them, that wasn't accidental. That was a message, a statement hiding in plain sight. So the real question becomes, what are we actually watching here? Is this just competitive New York energy between 2 elite rappers? Is it a power play, a psychological flex meant to assert dominance? Or is there something deeper happening that most people missed at the time? Something symbolic that only makes sense now, with hindsight and context? To answer that, we have to rewind, because the relationship between Jay-Z and 50 Cent is one of the most complicated dynamics in hip-hop history. Their rivalry spans over 2 decades, built on diss records, slick shots, business competition, and an unspoken respect neither man ever fully admits. They are connected whether they like it or not, and every move between them carries weight. It all started back in 1999 when 50 Cent was still an underground artist trying to break through. He dropped a track called How to Rob. The song was playful on the surface, but strategic underneath. He jokingly outlined how he'd robbed different rappers, including Jay-Z. Those lines didn't go unnoticed. Jay heard it, and once that line was crossed, there was no turning back. Jay-Z fired back publicly at Hot 97 Summer Jam in 2001. During a now legendary freestyle, he dropped the line, "I'm about $1. What the F asterisk 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 is 50 Cent?" That wasn't just a joke. That was a dismissal. A message to the culture that 50 didn't matter. That moment shaped everything that came next. But if there's one thing people know about 50 Cent, it's this. He doesn't back down. Not from violence. Not from industry pressure. Not from anyone trying to erase him. After surviving a near-fatal shooting in 2000, 9 bullets that would have ended most careers permanently, 50 came back louder. In 2002, He signed with Eminem and Shady Records, finally getting the platform he needed. By the mid-2000s, when this footage was recorded, the rivalry was no longer subtle. In 2003, 50 dropped back down on Get Rich or Die Trying. While the track primarily targeted Ja Rule, it carried indirect shots toward Jay-Z's entire circle. The lines were layered. The intent was clear. And that's why this footage matters now. Because when you understand the history, every step on that stage looks different. Every gesture hits harder. It's just competitive stuff. That's what people like to say to downplay it. But here's the thing. Once it moves past pure art, past just music and lyrics, and enters a space of blocking business, blocking opportunity, blocking growth, that's when it starts feeling strange. That's when it stops being rap beef and starts becoming something else entirely. And that shift is important to understand, because this is the exact atmosphere in which that concert footage was filmed. An environment thick with tension, rivalry, and unspoken competition. Every interaction between Jay-Z and 50 Cent during that era carried weight. Nothing was accidental. Nothing was random. And that's why when you see 50 literally running circles around Jay-Z on that stage, you're not just watching hype energy. What you're witnessing is psychological warfare in physical form. A symbolic power play unfolding in real time. A message being sent in front of thousands of people without a single word needing to be spoken. That movement wasn't just about crowd control. It was about dominance, about presence, about letting everyone know exactly who refuses to bow. Another viral clip adds even more fuel to the conversation. This one shows 50 Cent walking into a venue packed with rappers he openly feuded with. Ja Rule, Fat Joe, and several others. The clip is only about 26 seconds long, not even half a minute. But what happens in that short span is remarkable. You see a man walking into openly hostile territory with an almost unreal level of confidence. No hesitation, no fear, no sense of danger. He moves like he owns a room, like the threats around him are nothing more than background noise. And for people analyzing these clips through a more conspiratorial lens, the imagery becomes even more loaded. Some theorists have gone as far as interpreting 50's circling movement as symbolic dominance. They suggest it resembles ritualistic behavior, even comparing it to binding or summoning gestures. Whether you believe that or dismiss it completely as fantasy, the important part is this. Millions of people are now watching this footage and asking questions that would have sounded insane just a few years ago. One viral comment captured the mood perfectly. 50 Cent being a menace. He got on stage and ran circles around Jay-Z. And honestly, that might be the most accurate description of what we're seeing. Because 50 has always been exactly that. A menace, a provocateur, a disruptor who refuses to play by anyone else's rules. But here's where things get even more interesting. This footage didn't resurface randomly. It didn't come back in a vacuum. It reappeared at a very specific moment, under very specific circumstances. And now, it's being pulled into much larger conversations about power, symbols, and who really controls the upper levels of hip-hop. So now we move into the next layer of this story. The empire, the symbol, and the conspiracy. Because once you understand the history between these two New York giants, you also have to address something that has followed Jay-Z for nearly his entire career. Something so tied to his image that you can't talk about his legacy without mentioning it. For nearly 2 decades, Jay-Z has been surrounded by Illuminati conspiracy theories. Claims that his rise to billionaire status wasn't just about talent, business sense, or relentless work ethic, but about secret alliances, hidden societies, and unseen power structures operating behind scenes. These theories didn't come out of nowhere. They are rooted in imagery Jay-Z has used repeatedly, symbols is embraced, patterns critics believe point to something deeper beneath the surface. And at the center of all of it is one thing above everything else, the rock hand sign, the symbol that has become inseparable from Jay-Z's brand and empire. The rock symbol, also known as a diamond hand sign, is formed by bringing the thumbs and index fingers together to create a triangular shape. Over the years, it's become synonymous with Jay-Z himself. From Rockefeller Records to Roc Nation, the sign represents wealth, success, power, and legacy in hip-hop culture. But here's where things get critical. Because what conspiracy theorists claim the symbol represents and what Jay-Z himself has consistently explained about its origin are two completely different stories. and they cannot both be true. Rockefeller Records was founded in the mid-1990s by Jay-Z, Damon Dash, and Kareem Biggs Burke. The name Rockefeller was intentional, a reference to John D. Rockefeller. Wealth, ownership, independence, power. Jay-Z has said repeatedly the symbol was about building something valuable from nothing, a diamond formed under pressure. But critics argue that the repetition, the timing, and the imagery suggest something else entirely. And that's exactly why this old footage suddenly matters so much now. Because once symbols, power, and history collide, nothing looks accidental anymore. Rockefeller wasn't just a catchy name. It was a direct reference to John D. Rockefeller, the American industrialist who built one of the largest fortunes in history through Standard Oil in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The symbolism was intentional and obvious. These were young men from New York City who wanted to build their own empire, their own dynasty, their own legacy, without permission from the gatekeepers who had already written them off. And the word rock itself doubled as street slang. A rock meant a diamond. Something rare, something unbreakable, something permanent, that tied perfectly into the themes of durability, wealth, and longevity that would go on to define hip-hop culture for decades. This wasn't accidental branding. It was mythology being built in real time. The rock hand sign itself traces back to 1996, when Rockefeller signed the R&B duo Christian, made up of Ken Gold and Alan Anthony. They were the label's first non-rap act. At the time, Jay-Z and the team genuinely believed Christian would go diamond, meaning 10 million records sold, the highest commercial milestone in music. To push that vision, they began flashing the diamond gesture at shows and appearances. The idea was simple. Speak it into existence. Make the symbol synonymous with success before the success even arrives. Jay-Z addressed this directly years later in a 2023 CBS Mornings interview with Gayle King, explaining the gesture's origin in a very straightforward way. No mysticism, no secrecy, just marketing and belief. He even joked about it, saying why sell people music for $10.99 when you could just tell them to buy the albums themselves and listen. Christian's debut album, Ghetto Serrano, dropped in 1997 with singles like Full of Smoke, but it peaked at number 23 on Billboard's Top R&B Hip-Hop Albums chart. It fell far short of diamond status. Still, the hand sign outlived the group it was created for. As Jay-Z's solo career exploded, the symbol evolved into a broader emblem of Rockefeller's identity. It became inseparable from Jay-Z himself as a label rose to cultural dominance. But for conspiracy theorists, none of this documented history matters at all. The triangular shape of the sign has fueled Illuminati theories since the early 2000s. Critics claim it represents the all-seeing eye or pyramid seen on the U.S. dollar bill. To them, it implies Jay-Z's involvement in a secret society controlling entertainment and global power structures behind closed doors. These rumors reached a peak between 2010 and 2015, linking Jay-Z, Beyoncé, and other celebrities to alleged occult rituals exchanged for fame and success. Theorists obsessively reference tracks like Devil is a Lie or Lucifer, interpreting the lyrics as coded confessions of satanic deals rather than artistic expression. And this is exactly where 50 Cent enters the story and pours gasoline on the fire. Through his long-standing feud with Jay-Z, 50 has repeatedly leaned into these narratives, posting AI-generated clips, exaggerated caricatures, and cryptic messages that hint at hidden scandals. His posts don't confirm anything directly, but they keep the rumors alive in a way mainstream media never could. One widely shared observation summed it up perfectly. Is 50 Cent reigniting his decades-long feud with Jay-Z? When 50 posted a distorted caricature of Jay-Z on Instagram, it felt like yet another jab in a rivalry that refuses to die. But things didn't stop there. What truly sent the internet into a frenzy was what happened next. In 2025, 50 Cent executive produced a Netflix documentary series that reignited interest in alleged Jay-Z tapes. These rumored recordings supposedly contain hidden camera footage from private elite gatherings, showing secretive ceremonies, elaborate costumes, symbolic rituals, and power plays used for leverage. According to insiders, 50 aggressively pushed to include a segment about these alleged tapes in episode 4 of the series. Netflix ultimately removed it, citing legal exposure and liability risks. Figures like Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal, a former industry bodyguard, have claimed these gatherings were disguised as luxury parties but involved those manipulation, and control. When asked how he obtained footage others couldn't, 50 refused to name sources, maintaining his trademark mystery. At the same time, he teased a separate Jay-Z documentary, posting on Instagram that he had material bigger than previous scandals. This fits his long-standing pattern of strategically leaking information over time. 50 has even suggested that Jay-Z models his public image after specific cultural figures and uses marriage and business alliances to accumulate influence. One of his most controversial claims centers around Jay-Z's marriage to Beyoncé. According to 50, that union changed everything. When he signed that contract, the marriage contract, he got trophies, 50 said. Those trophies came rolling in. He argues Jay-Z's Grammy success accelerated noticeably after the marriage. Whether coincidence or conspiracy, that claim has become a constant talking point in discussions about power and privilege in the industry. When asked directly if success was derived from the marriage, the response was blunt. Absolutely. You get treated differently. And once you're treated differently, the entire system starts moving in your favor. The accolade comes because Jay-Z has transcended the street or gangster rapper label. Today, is seen as a businessman, an entrepreneur, a family man. For the record, and let's state it clearly, Jay-Z has consistently denied any Illuminati connections, calling the theories absurd and ridiculous. Collaborators like Kanye West have backed him up, emphasizing that these claims are disconnected from reality. The infamous pyramid hand sign is widely misinterpreted. It's meant to represent a diamond, not some secret society symbol. Historians tracing conspiracy myths note they originated from 18th century Bavarian societies, blown up in the 60s counterculture and 90s publications, with no credible link to celebrities. Regardless of what you personally think about these theories, whether you dismiss them as the overactive imaginations of internet sleuths or believe there's a hint of truth, the reality is undeniable. They permanently shaped how millions view Jay-Z. And then there's a resurfaced footage of 50 Cent running circles around him on stage all those years ago. It's just another piece of the puzzle, reinterpreted endlessly depending on who's watching. These moments now feed into a larger narrative about the aftermath and what it might mean for hip-hop's future. As legal issues around certain hip-hop moguls dominate headlines, conspiracy videos about Jay-Z and Beyoncé are flooding YouTube, going viral faster than ever. Algorithms have become megaphones for speculation, amplifying clips and theories that years ago might have gone completely unnoticed. Within hours, these videos reach millions, fueling endless debate. 50 Cent, ever the opportunist, has positioned himself perfectly as both prosecutor and entertainer in this drama. His Instagram is now a hub for cryptic posts, trolling memes, and pointed questions that keep him at the center of conversations he technically shouldn't be in. And yet, here he is, undeniably relevant. He doesn't need to throw full-blown allegations. He asks questions, pokes fun, stays teasingly on the edge. You're not worried about it coming back, people ask. His response, I don't got this stuff in my past. This is vintage 50 at peak effectiveness, calculated, provocative, always staying relevant while maintaining plausible deniability. He isn't making direct claims, isn't risking legal exposure. Instead, he hints, suggests, and leaves the interpretation to others, a move that's both legally smart and strategically brilliant. Pressed about potential backlash for his trolling, 50's answer is classic, blunt, confident, and unshakable. If you don't speak out and make them the weirdos, then they're going to think everybody in hip-hop is like that. It's a clever rhetorical framing. By casting himself as a defender of hip-hop's integrity, willing to call out bad actors to protect the culture, 50 transforms trolling into something resembling public service. Whether sincere or just cover for personal grudges, the strategy works. He stays in the conversation, shapes the narrative, and looks untouchable. The larger impact of this rivalry goes beyond the personalities. It has shaped hip-hop culture, highlighting competition, loyalty, and entrepreneurship, the genre's relationship with capitalism and success. Jay-Z and 50 have built massive empires, Jay-Z through music, sports, tech, and alcohol, 50 through music, TV, and branding. Their business empire became competing models for aspiring moguls, turning personal animosity into a public philosophical debate on what success should look like. The vitamin water deal alone, sold for $100 million in 2007, rivals Jay-Z's champagne and fashion ventures. showing this is bigger than music. This is business warfare with cultural stakes. And behind the scenes, it gets even deeper. Major players don't just clash in lyrics. They interfere with each other's commercial ventures, attempting to block deals, control opportunities, and shape markets. The implications ripple far beyond individual grudges, influencing the entire industry. What seems like a public spat or viral meme often masks serious maneuvering in boardrooms, contracts, and brand strategy. This is hip-hop as a multi-billion-dollar chess game, where every move counts, and both 50 and Jay-Z are playing at the highest level. The ripple effects of these rivalries extend unpredictably, impacting countless artists, employees, business partners, and stakeholders whose livelihoods depend on these ventures. Fat Joe's 2025 revelations added even more context, claiming his own feuds with Jay-Z and 50 Cent cost him major sneaker deals with Jordan and Reebok. It's a stark example of how these top-level conflicts don't just stay in the headlines. They can disrupt entire careers and industry economics, showing that tension at the top often trickles down with devastating consequences. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of this saga is what it reveals about legacy and public perception in the social media era we now live in. Jay-Z has spent decades carefully constructing an image of unassailable success, the self-made billionaire, the cultural icon, the family man representing black excellence at its finest. Every public appearance, every business deal, every perfectly worded statement has been a deliberate contribution to this narrative. And yet, vintage concert footage from nearly 20 years ago suddenly becomes ammo in a cultural battle. The internet never forgets, and it rarely forgives. Content that once seemed harmless can now be weaponized in ways no PR strategy can fully control. One moment, you're having breakfast, enjoying a quiet morning with your child. The next, you're scrolling through allegations, screenshots, and photos, trying to process information that would have been unthinkable years ago. It's surreal, disorienting, and a perfect illustration of how quickly private moments can become public fodder for debate. Many artists recorded themselves extensively in the 2000s, never imagining that in 2025, every clip could be dissected, repurposed, or used as evidence in cultural or social debates. The past has become a minefield, and every casual gesture or lyric can be reinterpreted endlessly. 50 Cent, for his part, seems fully content in his self-appointed role as hip-hop's court jester, asking the questions others won't, poking the pot relentlessly, or while insisting is just keeping things interesting. "You're next, buddy," he quips. And you're laughing at this. You're not worried? Know why? 'Cause you don't got nothing. I don't have it. Whether the supreme confidence is genuine or just bravado is hard to measure. Hip-hop culture has a way of humbling even the most untouchable figures, and 50, for all is distant from direct controversies, is not immune to the same scrutiny and speculation swirling around his longtime rival. The resurfaced 2025 footage has become a litmus test for how we interpret hip-hop power structures. Some see it as playful competition, two artists pushing each other to excel. Others see coded messages, symbolic rituals, and hidden dynamics shaping the industry behind closed doors. The iconic rock hand symbol, born from entrepreneurial ambition and music milestones, has evolved into a global emblem of hip-hop success. Conspiracy theories persist, despite Jay-Z's detailed explanations and historical accounts, and despite endless debunking. The footage circulates endlessly. Questions multiply faster than answers. New generations discover old clips, bringing fresh interpretations. The culture watches, waits, and keeps asking questions that may never be fully answered. And that's the enduring legacy of this rivalry. It's more than music. It's business, influence, image, and perception, all wrap into a relentless cycle of scrutiny, speculation, and cultural obsession. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click on one of the boxes on your screen to dive into more stories like this.